Hello. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm not prepared in the slightest for any of this because I've had a chaotic weekend. I've been away for 2 days and I've missed pretty much everything. So this is going to go really, really well because I'm really prepared.
I believe the Chiefs got a touchdown, and I've been trying to watch it while you've been messing about with your camera settings, and I've missed it 3 times.
Yeah,
Just trying to catch up on the NFL.
I've missed most of that. I've missed all of the football from yesterday. I've managed to catch some F1. My notes on my computer are not working. So yeah, this is going to be as less professional than ever. So let's just roll with it and see how we go.
Me more talking than ever before, and that's hard to do.
Just what we don't need, but there we go.
I feel like I'm at an angle.
But so, I don't even know what's happened this week. Genuinely, I don't know what's happened this week. I'm all over the place.
Arsenal won. They won 5-2. They
Yes,
scored
they
all
did.
their goals in the first 30-some minutes. It was 4-2, what was it?
It was 4-0, then it came back to 4-2,
It
then
was
5-2.
5-2 at half time, and it was
Yeah.
Arsenal 4 within 35 minutes. And how
Did
bad
West
are
Ham just not turn up?
No. The West Ham were very West Ham-like lately. They were just shite, to be fair.
I'm gonna say I've seen the pictures of the crowd leaving after like 28 minutes or whatever it
35
was.
minutes. They scored the fourth goal, I think, Arsenal, and everyone left.
I can't blame them.
I can't imagine how cheap it is to go to West Ham. It's not going to be cheap, is it? And they've left after that time.
Yeah, I've done it in the past watching Barnsley, believe me.
That's Barnes. I mean, they are shite. I mean, West Ham are in Premier League. They're meant to be a Premier League side. They were in Europe last year.
We lost on penalties to Bristol Rovers in the FA Cup.
So that was saying league, or was there? We're going to start playing penalties in league.
New hybrid friendly rules.
Arsenal have battered West Ham, literally battered them to pieces. Well, the other games were pretty much as they were. I don't know, there were nothing spectacular. I think Brighton managed to only draw with Southampton somehow, which was quite impossible, but they did it.
Brighton are a bit weird this year. They have spells of looking really good, and then all of a sudden they just pull out a strange bad result.
To be fair to Brighton, they looked absolutely fantastic against Southampton. They didn't score, and Southampton managed to scrubber a goal.
And unfortunately, scoring goals in football is quite important.
It seems so. I mean, depends on who you are, but yeah, it's not for everyone, is it? Rude's took the job at Leicester, hasn't he?
I find that strange. Just all very weird.
Yeah. I'm not sure. This is probably a bit disrespectful to Rude, how he thinks he's going to keep them up, because they're not very good. And if he does keep them up, then they've done all right, haven't they? But it's a bit of a strange job to say.
It can keep them up based on there might just be worse teams around, Southampton being one of them.
It said on I just made a little note saying the only way Leicester stay up is if there's 3 worse teams than them.
And there probably is. I don't think they're going to stay up based on quality. They're going to stay up based on the fact that there's other teams around them that are worse.
The likes of West Ham are going to get dragged back into it. Everton are still there, although they could get nice 3 points later today. So talk about that later.
Wolves are not great. Ipswich are not great.
Wolves are really bad. They seem like, I mean, the goals they scored, it was last week when you said Kuna scored 2 good goals.
Yes.
The goals they scored last week were really good. It just seems like that's all they've got. It's either world-class goals or, we're going to not score at all. Yeah, I mean, they got booed off the pitch. They were really bad. It was, Bournemouth battered them. Really, really badly. The penalties were all a bit. There was a lot of penalties. There was 3 penalties.
First hat-trick of penalties in the Premier League ever, I believe I read.
I didn't know that, yeah. Hat-trick of penalties. I never knew that. That's bizarre, that, isn't it, really? I mean, think about how long the Premier League's been going and how often penalties are given. There's never been 3 in a game. Oh, it could have been 3. It said hat-trick, didn't it? So does that just mean he scored a hat-trick from penalties?
Yeah, he's the first person to score 3 penalties in a game, basically, in a Premier League match. Which still, after, 33 years, he's still
seem a little bit strange, that. Yeah. But yeah, Clivert got a hat-trick, which is, I don't think the other Clivert ever got a hat-trick in the Premier League, did he?
No, because he played at Newcastle for a while in the early 2000s.
Yeah. I mean, you'd have enjoyed watching Wolves because they played out from back a lot.
Oh, God.
which they gave away 2 penalties while playing out from the back. There were that.
Do you know another team that played out from the back and failed miserably at it? Man City midweek. Gosh, what was that?
You see, obviously, well, I tell a lie here now. I haven't seen this, right? But I now have the ability to see it because I decided to subscribe to it. Because Man United are playing in Europe, so I thought, got a new manager. Let's get on board. So I subscribed to it, but I subscribed to it on Thursday night so I could watch it Friday morning. So I haven't seen the City game. They were 3-0 up, weren't they?
3-0 up after 75 minutes, and they are the first team in the history of the Champions League to be 3 goals up with 75 minutes gone and not win. That's impressively bad.
To be fair to Pep, he's accomplished quite a lot as a manager, and he's knocked some pretty big records out of the park. But these records that he's knocking out at the minute are probably ones he doesn't want to be doing, aren't they?
No, they're impressively bad records, but he's knocking them off really quickly.
He's lost 5 in a row for the first time in his career, having lost 4 in a row for the first time in his career, considering it is the same run. He's not won in 6 games. He plays Liverpool
4 o'clock.
today for you, tomorrow for me. There's a very good chance. Liverpool haven't been very good, let's be honest. Liverpool have been quite fortunate in a lot of their results.
Yes, they have.
They haven't played particularly well, but they keep winning. They're sort of the City of last year. City were very poor at the start of last season, but kept winning. And now Liverpool seems to be doing that. So they could quite easily lose today, which would be no wins in 7 and 6 defeats in 7.
Yes. Because they had 1 draw.
That's worse than Southampton. Their manager's a cowboy.
And the other problem is looking at it. It can be 3-0 up with 15 minutes left and not win at the minute, apparently.
I don't get that from a Pep side. I just don't get that. Because the one thing he's always been good at is game management. To get in the lead. Like United used to be sort of early 2000s, late 90s. If United went 1-0 up at home, teams used to admit it was game over. There was no point even playing the rest of the game because you didn't come back and beat United once they were 1-0 up.
Yeah.
I think still to this day there's a stat that if United lead at half time, they've not lost for something stupid like 30 odd years. City are the same now. If City go 1-0 up, the chances of beating them are 1 in a million, unless it's been in the last 6 weeks. It just seems you can do what you want to them. It's just how. Suddenly, 7-8 weeks ago, City were the best team in Europe. They were the best team in the Premier League. They were one of the best teams ever, according to everybody. And now everyone's saying it's a total rebuild. They need to scrap the team and start again. And I'm like, how in 6 weeks does the team fall apart?
I think that's a typical media overreaction, though, isn't it? Let's be honest. The team hasn't all of a sudden become the worst. The team hasn't all of a sudden become the worst football team you've ever seen in the history of football. It just doesn't happen. They've hit a bad patch of form, which
exactly. It's just like Man United signing a new manager. We're not suddenly going to become Real Madrid. We're still going to be who we are. Man City aren't just suddenly going to become rubbish overnight. They've still got exactly the same team. That's what I'm saying. It's mental, isn't it? They've still got exactly the same team, just Rodri's missing. And if they're that bad that the only player they can't do that is Rodri, that's pretty poor from a team point of view. But surely you just play a different style so that that centre pivot's not the main be all and end all of your team.
What's not helped them is Foden's not played much this season. When he hasn't really done a lot. Grealish hasn't scored a goal now in 147 years.
So he's worse than Anthony, is what we're saying.
I think literally it's 300. I think it's 363 days or something since he last scored a Premier League goal. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think I've seen some sort of stats on it. Oh, it's ridiculous. But again, to pay £100 million for a player, do they not need to play week in, week out? And I understand that that's not an excuse. He's got to be playing week in, week out. You can't just keep throwing these people in for a game and then dropping him out for 3 and then throwing him in for a game and expect him to give you back consistency because he's not getting consistency, is it? It doesn't. You look at Pep's team. Certain people play every week. Roger plays. Silva will play if he's available. Diaz will play if he's available. Kyle Walker will play. The keeper will play. Haaland will play. You've got £100 million left winger, if you want to call him that. He needs to play every week if you want a return on him. Or you decide you're not good enough, and at £100 million, you've got to move him on, haven't you?
Yeah, because you're just wasting a wage and you're wasting a squad
All
number.
he's doing now is basically getting flack for being a £100 million player, which, with all due respect to Grealish, I've got no ties to Grealish at all. Couldn't give a monkeys about him. It's not his fault. He didn't ask to be charged £100 million, did he?
But like we were saying, 2 weeks? So this is just a regular thing now in football. The amount of big money transfers that is ruining young careers. Kelvin Phillips, like we said, another massive example of that. He
I mean,
got
he
sold
doesn't
for
even play for
stupid money.
Ipswich anymore, does he?
No, I think is he not injured
And
though? To be fair, or coming back from injury.
all due respect to Ipswich, if you've got Calvin Phillips, he should be he should be good enough to be your best player by a long way. And I mean, when he has played for him, he hasn't really pulled up any trees or done anything spectacular. I've never looked at it and thought, oh, Calvin Phillips is back. He'll be in England squad anytime soon.
No, because I think his confidence is shot. I think his form's gone. I think he's right now not. He's not even. It's not even a thought. He's not the player he was 4 years ago. When you look at 3.5 years ago, when you look at Euro 2021, he was being dubbed the Yorkshire Pirlo all of a sudden because he was running our midfield, and then moves to Man City, destroys him. Another big one, Harry Maguire at Leicester City looked like a world, a dominating defender. Went to Man United and looked like a fridge on legs. It's
Cheers.
But
you know what I saw the other day? Danny Drinkwater.
Christ, that's a throwback.
Now works on a building site as a construction worker.
Wow. He went Leicester to Chelsea?
And he was flying when Leicester. I think he won the league with Leicester, didn't he?
Possibly,
I believe. He was flying at Leicester. He was he come from Man United, didn't he? He was a Man United kid. Come from Man United, went to Leicester because he couldn't get a United team. Got a big money move to Chelsea, and now works on a construction site.
Where's all his money gone? What's he done?
Well, they're just so. To be fair to most footballers, they are stupid, aren't they? But they're so badly advised. They take the worst advice in the world, don't they? They get all these big agents who promise them the world and deliver fuck all. So he's obviously blown it all, hasn't he? So,
true.
Yeah. It's just, it's not going to happen to Grealish because he's earned way too much money. And by all accounts, I don't think he's blowing it on stupid things. But it just happens to people, doesn't it? They just take these stupid moves. We said like when City became massive, or Chelsea became massive when they signed Wright Phillips and the other few they signed, they just killed them all. All the British ones just died and disappeared, didn't they? And they were good British players as well.
But is there actually then more a potential of, when you look at it just from an English/British perspective, is that once again they were overhyped because they were English-British, they were overpaid because they were English and British?
There's always a thing that there's the English tax on people and they pay more for them. But why do people pay more for an English player? Why would you?
Because the media hypes them up to be the next best thing. They're going to be the next,
I get that, but it's supply and demand, isn't it? If you need a left winger, why pay 100 million for Grealish when you could go to Spain and get probably a similar talent for 30 million? Why would you do it?
You have so many English/British. You have to.
If you're an English football club and you haven't got enough English players coming through, then why have you got an academy? It's surely you can get your quota from that.
But a lot of the academies now, if you look, the academies are brought in from abroad. You've got to look at Ahmad, who you've brought through. He's not. I don't think he qualifies for England, does he? He's
Ivory Coast, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. So a lot of the academies now, they're looking abroad to get these young players in.
So poor from the teams, though, isn't it? Because if you're basically lining yourself up to have to buy £100 million Grealish because you're not doing your job properly. Yeah, you're not bringing through the required talent. You've only got to look at some of the teams that bring through good English talent. The talent's there. So many good young players come through from England that don't get, the amount of people you'll see and think, oh, where's he gone to? And you think, well, he was so good, but he never got a chance to play at that level. And then they panic and spend £100 million on Grealish. And you just think, or £80 million on Harry Maguire. And it's like, why have they had to spend? There's no way that you should be paying £100 million for Jack Grealish. Because you could go to the continent and get a player as good as him, but a third of the money.
Absolutely, yeah, easily. But I think it goes back to those problems grassroots level in this country. I don't think we teach kids technically the right things. I don't think we've ever adopted, and as much as you've got to have an English way of playing, we've not modernised. I don't think a lot of us coaching techniques, which is why we don't have any English coaches in top jobs.
Glenn Hoddle said this the other week, didn't he, about talking about England and how when he became manager, how they were so outdated because he'd managed on the continent.
I want to say Italy, but I could be wrong. I want to say Napoli, but that might not be true.
Something like that. He'd managed one of them, And when it came to England, the structure of England, the way they brought people through and the way they did things was so outdated. It was they're so scared to play with the football. It was get the ball up front, big man, little man up front, knock downs, things like that. And even he said then how outdated we were. But it takes so much time to catch up, doesn't it? Because if the Italians have been doing this since when was Gladwell in charge? Early 90s?
He was England manager for just after Euro 96.
So mid into late 90s. So we were behind at that point. That's 25, 30 years ago nearly now.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
So we're 30. We're behind them then, and they were already doing this. And we're not caught. We're not even started to catch up yet. If you don't look at England and think we're a great ball playing side, so we're 30 years behind. It's not going to happen overnight, is it? So from grassroots upwards, we're just not bringing through the young players to play football as football is played now. You look at where Pep plays football. There's not many English players that you look at and think, oh, they fit perfectly into a Pep team.
No.
It's not how they play, is it?
I suppose you could say then that's fine if we've not gone that route, but what we haven't done is then decided what the English style of football is. We've kind of just done nothing.
But
we've not thought, well, we'll not do it Pep's way, but we'll do it our way, and our way is this. It's just nothing.
But the obvious thing is football's played with the football, isn't it? So you've got to be good with the football at your feet. You've got to be technically good with the football at your feet. This is not 1960 now where the pitches are horrendous and you've got to, you're lumping balls up. You've got to be good with football at your feet, otherwise you're not a footballing team, are you? No. We're not. We're technically not good with the football at his feet. We're scared to have the ball. It's almost get the ball, get rid of it, get the ball. A Pep team, everyone's so confident on the ball. John Stones stepping into midfield and playing for Pep is like unbelievable for an English person to be able to do that, because we've never been able to do that. Can you imagine some of our centre-halves over the last few years being able to do that? They'd shit themselves. You said step out defence into midfield and go and play for Sol Campbell. I mean, fucking hell, he wouldn't know shave an haircut, would he? I mean, exactly. And they just go through a massive list. John Terry would be absolutely petrified. Harry Maguire. These people aren't going to step in. Can you imagine John Terry stepping into midfield? I mean, it'd be like a train wreck, wouldn't it? It'd have to injure somebody because he'd feel so out of place.
Bulldoze his way through.
It would, doesn't it? So it's just so out of our depth to do this. Can you imagine as an English team having inverted wingers and inverted fullbacks? I mean, our fullbacks don't even know where the fullback position is most of the time. They don't have to invert. You said that word to them, they'd just suck themselves off, wouldn't they? They're like, what does this mean? It's a foreign language to us, literally a foreign language, what they do. And it's still the same to this day. And I just don't know.
I still think one of our biggest problems is, as England, if you look at it even from a club level or international level, we between us have watched football for the best part of just over 30 years. Can you name me one time where we've had a central midfielder who will run a game? I can probably give you one that is English, Paul Scholes. But when you're talking your likes of, I'm looking Pirlo level, that will get, if a game's going away from you, we'll get hold of the ball by the scruff of the neck and we'll sort out a match for you.
In the sort of way Rodri does for City?
Yeah. When have we ever had that? Ever.
We don't, but once again, when have we ever had a midfield that wants to have the ball? We've always wanted, all our midfielders, all they've been able to do is run around a lot and throw in some decent tackles. And when they get the ball, it's just get rid of it because they're scared to have it. Petrified of getting it took off them. And that's what gets bred into, your Barcelona midfield. You look at the sort of Iniesta and Xavi. I mean, they play with the ball between themselves all day long. They wouldn't need anyone
and Busquets in that group as well.
They wouldn't give them monkeys if two men were marking them. Can you imagine two men going and marking Xavi and being scared? Give them monkeys. They'd still take the ball. And they still distribute it to another player perfectly. We haven't got that sort of level in midfield. We don't teach our midfielders to be confident on the ball. And all this playing out from the back is fantastic, but it just shows up how far behind our game we are because everyone's scared to receive the ball. Nobody wants it. It's just a case of, I hope they give it to him. I hope they give it to him because I don't want him. Whereas your Spanish midfielders and your Italian midfielders are happy to receive the ball anywhere on the pitch.
And even when we do try and play out from the back, it's so slow. I mean, even I could predict it and chase what we're going to do half the time because it's so. We'll never miss a man to spread the play. It's got to go across in a line and come back
Because
in a line.
it's eat, sleep, repeat, isn't it? He says to me, I get the ball and I give it to him. I can't think past that. I don't have the ability to think outside the box or think for myself. When I get the ball as me in midfield, I know I give it to my right back or my left back, so that's my pass. If I turn on the ball and see something else, well, I can't do that. I'll give it to my left back. So that's what I've been told to do. Whereas your foreign midfielders will see something else and think, well, if I miss him out, I can go to my left winger or my right winger or my centre forward immediately, and I can move the play forward. We just follow instructions. It's got to go there. The sets players, when it's played into him, he'll be told that you need to be looking for these two people because they're going to make themselves available, and that's all they do. It's monkey see, monkey do, isn't it? That's all they do. They
Yeah.
can't see past the simple instructions, whereas the foreigners sort of almost think for themselves a little bit and see that there's something else they could do to develop the play. And we're just so far behind when it comes to it.
Yeah, I think it's, but again, like I said, I think it's how we're taught from a younger age. I mean, when you look back at how Brazilian players were taught on concrete pitches of you keep the ball at your feet, you don't play above head height, you take 1-2 touches and you're moving it on quickly. Our facilities are probably better than most of the
Been
developed
better for
world,
decades.
but yet
People
we
in
can't
Brazil
seem to
weren't growing
utilize
up
them.
playing on 4G pitches and 3G pitches and all this stuff. They're growing up playing in car parks, playing around cars and playing with nets made out of scrap vehicles and stuff. We're playing on perfectly great pitches and still can't play football better than them.
Mm.
But
Which is just
are we over pampered in that way? Have we got
possibly.
the perfect setup and they're having to, how many foreign countries do you see playing on beaches and stuff like that? And that makes them better footballers because they have to deal with the adverse conditions. If you can play on a beach, if you can play football on a beach, you can play football anywhere, can't you?
Don't think you can play on a beach in England. It's usually a bit wet.
Yeah, and it's quite brown. Mourinho would not like it.
Instead, the
You'll see it
water's
smell when
not the
it's brown.
cleanest and the weather's the worst. So yeah, I can see why we don't play on beaches. If I'm honest, I'll give us a break on that one.
Yeah, we do have to play indoors a lot. I mean, you could have an indoor beach if you really needed it. I'm sure we could make one. Good night, Gareth Southgate. We can do anything, can't we? I can't get over that one. It's kept me up all week. That.
Yeah, but basically, he's continued a theme of 30 odd years of we'll flatter to deceive, we'll have a lot of decent players, we'll not make the most of them because the tactics will be bad, and we'll just rinse and repeat and do it all over again, this time with a German manager.
Someone somewhere has looked at what Southgate's done and said, that was successful.
Exactly, but that's the mentality
And
of our
he's
country
the
right now.
guy, and whoever that person is, because
The king, I think.
But someone's gone to the king, hasn't they? The king hasn't been watching the football and gone, Gareth Southgate needs a knighthood. Somebody has put Gareth Southgate forward for this. I don't believe that that's how it happened. The king's watching every fucker in the world and deciding who knights. Is he watching Jeremy Clarkson thinking he's great and he needs an OB because he's great? He's not
I
watching
hope
all
so,
these
because
people
that's
as a
just
week in, week.
brilliant.
Somebody's going to him and putting these people forward to him. So somebody in the FA's idiot circle has thought, well, Southgate's done well. Let's put him forward for a knighthood. We'll put him on the list.
No. I now want to believe the king sits watching the Grand Tour. I'm now happy with that in life.
He goes from watching England versus Republic of Ireland to repeats of the Grand Tour. That's his Sunday.
Oh, that'd be amazing. But no, yeah, you're right. Somebody's decided that Southgate's
putting
done
him forward.
well.
Somebody at the FA has recommended him for this. Is it an award, a privilege? I don't know what we're going to call it. I mean, for him, it's an award because it's an achievement for him to get that. Yeah, I'm not so sure he should be calling it a title.
It's the title he's ever going to win.
Not fucking Arsenal. I mean, that's our problem, isn't it? Right there summarises our problem with football. That we are happy to basically put Southgate forward for that title based on what he achieved, which was absolutely fuck all, other than making a lot of people happy in the first few years, getting fans back into the stadium, and finishing runner-up or third quite often.
I'm going to say he did really well. He got us all happy, he got us all excited, and then destroyed it. He literally built us up and then ruined it.
How many other nations have done the equivalent with their manager having not won anything? Other than Gambia or something, because if they came third, then you do want knighting, don't you? But I can't imagine the French, giving a knighthood to their manager because he finished third in the Euros.
No.
It's just just wouldn't happen, would it?
No.
They'd be embarrassed to do it. And so should we.
Absolutely, we should. We should walk away going, that's 3 missed opportunities. There's not 3 bits of
There
success
were
in there.
3
There's
missed
three,
opportunities.
there's 3
And
failures.
you look at the teams that we lost against. I mean, we lost to Croatia,
Croatia in 2018, who
were bang
bottoms.
average. Yeah, bang.
They
I
played
mean, we
extra time
scored against
twice.
them. Trippier scored against them, didn't he?
Yeah.
And we should have
like
gone
a
up line
4-minute.
and sinker for them. It should have been next 10 minutes, just go for them because they were on the floor.
Yeah.
Like a boxer, knock him down. Don't give him time to come round. Just go and kill him off. We didn't. Italy. They're always been a decent side, but they weren't a good Italy side then.
No, they weren't.
They bullied us. They pushed us around. They did what? But it comes from the manager. Give it him back. When he pulls Saka down by the neck, who's getting older? Was it Materazzi or
Chiellini.
what's it called?
was
Who's getting
Chiellini.
older him and saying, "What are you doing? Don't do that." We're all standing around scared of him. Where's your leader? Where's your Roy Keane, your Patrick Vieira to get in his face and make sure he don't do that again? Nobody.
But there was a point in that final. I remember still to this day watching it, and it was becoming obvious what was happening. They were tiring, but we weren't going for it. At that point, after about 55, 60 minutes,
fouling us.
but he should have
couldn't get near us.
He should have had the bottle to throw on 3 fresh, quick players and gone for it.
Go for him. Yeah, exactly.
And at least if he'd have lost, he could have said,
at least have gone for it. Mate,
they were tiring, so I went for it. And we'd have all gone, well, that's what we'd have done. So fair enough. If it doesn't work, fine. But you sat there and went, let's just keep going back, and hope Italy don't score. No, stop doing that. Go the other way.
Fergie. Whenever Fergie was losing a match, we always ended the game with Dwight York, Andy Cole, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Teddy Sheringham, David Beckham, Ryan Giggs, Paul Scott. They were all on the pitch, right? And to me, that's the only way you finish a game if you're losing. All you can do is put your strikers on the pitch. I said it this week about Amorim, I'll come to it in a minute, right? When we're not doing well, 50 to 60 minutes, he makes his changes. That, in my head, as a football person, if things aren't going well, you make a change before the hour. That gives your team long enough to make the changes. Southgate, Ten Hag was doing it. Making changes on 85 minutes. What the fuck can make a difference in 4.5 minutes by the time you've run on pitch? It's like
crazy.
They'll just say, no, he's not touched the ball yet. Well, he won't do, will he? Because they've had it for the last 2 minutes. He's been out of play for a minute. We're on 8 minutes. So what the fuck's he going to do now? We've got this striker come on who's, doing really well in Premier League. He's scored 4 goals in 5. Not touched ball because he's not getting into the game. If it's not going well for you, I understand people not making changes at half time because it demoralises the player that's coming off because you're basically saying to him, you've been shit.
Yeah.
You give them 10 minutes, 50, 55 minutes, you bring them players off if it's not going your way or if you need a change. And you give the team time, then 30, 35 minutes to play with the new setup. Managers that are losing 2-0 and make a change in 85 minutes, they should be sacked there and then because what is that for management? I mean, that's literally the coward's way out, isn't it? Don't have the bottle to make the changes. I can't imagine. Like I said, Fergie, the amount of times I've watched us, and people who say it's Fergie time or you'll get lucky. You don't get lucky for 15, 20 years in a row. You get the knack of knowing that if you're not winning, you go for it all out. And how many times I watched England and thought, we've got 3 strikers on bench and we've just swapped a midfielder. What's he going to do? Nothing.
Or we'd bring on a
all
right
these strikers to these tournaments. So and Ten Hag were doing the same. You'd see it and they'd swap a centre half 2-1 down. I think, why would you bring a centre half when you've got 2 strikers on the bench? You just find a way. Take your fullbacks off, take a centre off, take anyone off, take your goalkeeper off. I don't give a shit. Just go for it. Don't. And it's just infuriating to watch him. And that's the mentality, I think, isn't it? It's like
it was definitely his. He would always leave it as long as possible, and we'd be literally the whole stadium would be sat there going, "This is not working. Change it." And then we get to 84th minute. I'll go.
The fans are singing. If the fans have got to the point where they're singing for a player to come on, right? I mean, these fans have been drinking all day, and even they can see who needs to come on. They've been at pubs since dinner time. It's 8:00 at night, and they're singing for a midfielder to come on or a winger to come on, and Southgate can't even see it. And it's like, at what point does he need to see that? You can't make changes after 80 minutes. Most changes you're going to make, all they're going to do is delay game. They're not realistically going to do a lot.
I mean, he got lucky twice in the Euros when it did pay off. So Watkins scored against Holland. And Palmer came on late against Spain, didn't he, and scored. So he did.
He did, yeah.
So he did get lucky twice that it did work, but it's not a running tactic that's going to work often. You
It's
just
not a
got lucky.
fundamental way of managing, is it? And it's
No.
something like I said with Amorim, I've seen straight away in the 2 games. He's made changes on the 55, 58 minutes when it's not been going right. And straight away you think, the manager already knew at half time what he wanted to do. He's already thinking ahead. Right, he's not right, he's not right. As soon as I see anything, I'm going to get him off and I'm going to swap it around.
I mean, it nearly went horribly wrong on Thursday, let's be honest.
We are very, very attacking right now. We're very open at the back, but we're very high pressing. We're very much go for it and we're going to win. There's a lot of fundamental problems with the setup at the minute. The players just haven't. But to be fair to them, they've had
They'll still be
10
adapting to
days.
it, won't they? Let's be honest.
Oh yeah, I mean, Lissandro Martinez has been probably our best defender since Tenar came in. Was at fault for maybe 2 of their goals. He just got caught out of position, but he's learning the whole new what he needs to do. He got caught too far up the pitch. He pressed onto the wrong player and left Malacia exposed, and they went on and scored. But I've never seen a United team in the years win the ball back so many times in their half of the pitch, and we created so many chances again. I mean, it's a bang average. Well, it's not a bang average team. It's a shit team we're playing against. Let's be honest. But
where are they from?
Poland. I mean, I've basically picked Poland out because I spoke to someone today that's in Poland, and that's where I've gone with it. I have got no idea. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I'd never heard of them before we were playing them.
Nope.
So, but I do like the way we play. There's going to be goals at both ends. That is for certain. This is not going to be we're not going to be a 1-0 to the Arsenal for this season. This is going to be the more akin to the Real Madrid. You score 4, we're going to try and score 5 type of approach. Against Glint, he made a tactical change at half time, which was good to see. He swapped. He brought Dallo on, and the other guy that was struggling took him off, Malacia, and he played Dallo further inside and pushed Garnacho out wide, and it worked. So it's nice to see somebody trying something that he's obviously seen that's not going right, which is not what we used to. We just used to get to the 80th minute and hope to God that we're throwing enough players that we get a point out of it. So it's not going to be dull. We're definitely not going to be boring to watch this season. I mean, Michael Owen's gone out and said that this is the best Man United side he's seen in years, and he can see us going all the way. I don't know where he's getting this from. I think that's just because he's pissed all Liverpool fans off by saying Mo Salah should leave. So his dad decided.
He's not meant to be a Liverpool legend and a Liverpool lover. How is he now on the Man United bandwagon?
They played for Man United, didn't he? So he pissed all the Liverpool fans off. So he's pissed all the Liverpool fans off by saying that Mo Salah should leave, and now so he's suddenly become a Man United fan this week. It makes him feel better. So yeah, he's just doing his usual thing, Michael Owen, and talking absolute bollocks. But yeah, it's United don't look. Like I said, we're going to be fun to watch. It's definitely not dull. I mean, we scored after 80 seconds against Ipswich, and we scored after 40 seconds against Bodo Glimt. And the goal we scored against Bodo Glimt is scrappy, but it's exactly how he wants to play. The striker just jumps on the keeper, doesn't give him a minute to play the ball out. And I mean, to be fair, the keeper should get sent off if he doesn't score because he pulls Ireland down while he's trying to put ball in there. Luckily, Garnacho puts it in. But that's the sort of game he's going to play. It's good fun. Can't fault him. Let's go for it. I mean, we'll probably get battered by Everton today. I'll be saying something totally different next week. But it's one of them at the minute. You just don't know. We could go out and beat anybody 2-3-0, and then next week we could lose 3-0. Literally, it's just the players have got to adapt to what he wants, and they are struggling. I can see that. You can definitely see they're struggling, but they looked better as the game went on against Glint. They did look like they were understanding it a little bit more. At the start of the game, it looked very like watching under 12s play. Just weren't sure who were playing where. If somebody not giving you the tactics before, you couldn't have put your finger on it and gone, "Oh, we're playing this tactic. He's playing there." You were just looking at it thinking, who's playing where, what's the setup here.
Yeah.
So they did settle a bit, but it's going to take time. I mean, what's he had 10 days with them since he came back from
Yeah, just
international?
over, yeah.
Be 2 weeks on Monday, and we'll have played 3 games. So yeah, it's going to take a bit of time, and so we'll see how we go. We will get there.
But speaking of today, the big game then is how it's the first, and it's only the first week in December. But how big is City Liverpool today?
Oh, it's massive for City. I think you've got to look at it from City's point of view, and with the run they're on, can they afford to lose to Liverpool? I've already said that Liverpool are pretty steady at the minute, and they're still winning every game. If they do hit fourth, fifth gear, you're not catching them, are you? I mean, how far will City be behind if they lose today?
11 points, I
11. Is
think.
it is right? We said this
Yeah,
last week, but is that right still?
it'd still be 11 points, won't it? I'm pretty certain. Yeah, because the 8 by now it'd be 11
Yeah,
points if
because
they lose today.
Liverpool won after we were on last week, didn't
Yeah.
they? They beat Southampton. They're not catching 11 points on Liverpool, are they?
But then you look
What's
at
that?
how
3, 6, 9. That's
it's,
Liverpool would have to lose 4 and City win every game. So if you said Liverpool lost, so if you said Man City still lose 2 to the end of the season, Liverpool got to drop 6 defeats. I don't see that happening. 6 defeats to Liverpool. They'd have to fall off a cliff, wouldn't they?
but there's when you look at Liverpool, I mean, I don't know if you watched the Southampton game last week, you can see how Liverpool could lose games though.
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
they weren't good
no,
against Southampton at all.
I'm all for. I mean, it's almost like Max Verstappen in the way he's drove recently. Like he almost looks like he hasn't got the car to win the races. Liverpool don't look like they're good enough to keep winning these games, but somehow from Miami to today, he's still got more points than everyone else. And Liverpool somehow in that period have won all their games. And it's like at some point, if they don't get heavily beaten, it's going to click, and they're just going to get better and better and better. If you keep winning, you're gonna grow into it, aren't you? They're not losing.
But is there a chance though that actually some of they've been a little bit lucky and that will eventually run out and this is not a skill thing, right? I mean, Southampton, they were lucky. Southampton gifted them two goals completely. It was just woeful.
Southampton do that, don't they? Yeah, I mean, I've been saying for ages that Liverpool will fall off a cliff, but there comes a point where you've got to think, well, will they? Are they really gonna? Who's gonna beat them? And if City don't beat them today, then who's gonna beat them? Other than Arsenal, they're gonna go play Arsenal twice. That's only
They
2
only played
defeats.
Arsenal once.
Oh well, then we're gonna play them once then. So that's
They
only
drew,
1
didn't they,
defeat.
2-2?
We're reckoning they may need to lose 5 or 6 games. So who are in the rest of the, so let's say they beat City today. They've only got City to play once more. They've got Arsenal to play once more. That's 2 defeats if they lose to both of them. Who's the other 4 teams that are going to beat them? So they've
You'd be
nearly
relying
played
on
everybody
Liverpool doing
now.
daft things like they've done historically. I mean, a few years ago when they were back in Gerrard's day, when they were close, when they'd go and lose to Hull or Wolves or
That's,
Fulham
the
or
only thing you can think is they get complacent or this run does come to an end and what like City have done, they get 1 defeat. And I remember it happened with Man United. When Mourinho came in, we started the season flying and we were scoring goals for fun. And then about 6 games in, we got beat quite heavily. And he changed the tactics. We suddenly went really defensive and parked the bus every week. And it was like, it scared them off. So I was like, that's the only thing that could really happen, was they got a heavy defeat somewhere and he decided that he couldn't play the same way.
Canate
But,
is also injured for 6 weeks, which could be a big loss.
is it?
Mm.
No, it's starting to sound like Arsenal now, moaning about injuries.
No, but
They're
could
up
it
to
be
it.
sort of the Rodri effect for City? Could it be something like that that triggers the sudden,
Could, but I just
drop
at the
off?
minute until you see him lose, I don't think you can even talk about him being caught by anybody. Like I said today, City've got to win. Liverpool haven't got to win, have they? A
No,
draw
Liverpool
is a
just got
great
to not
result for
lose, really.
Liverpool. A draw for Liverpool is a great result. They're at home, but a draw for City is almost like another defeat, isn't it? Especially when to City, it's like 7 games without a win, then, isn't it? People keep
Yeah.
talking about it. It builds the pressure again. It's just like Haaland snatching at chances that he shouldn't do, or I mean, when have City ever gone 3-0 up and even looked remotely like losing? I think Man United came back to beat them from 2-0. I think Paul Scholes came back and
And so we're going
Pogba
back
scored
quite a
a
long way.
header. And we're going back a long time. I mean, that's the last time I can think City really squandering a lead at any point. They don't do it, do they? So at the minute, you just think, I just don't see past. I mean, Liverpool at home, I just don't see past Liverpool winning and probably winning quite comfortably today, like 2-0, 3-1,
It's a bold
something like that.
prediction.
We'll see. I'm not very good at predictions, so
No, it's liable to be 6-5 to Man City now then.
I'll tell that. It'll be a good watch. Talking of Liverpool, right? Mo Salah is supposedly
Yes.
not being offered a contract. There was a massive debate the other day, and Martin Keown, I texted you actually, didn't I? Say Martin Keown's talking absolute balls as usual. So, in Martin Keown's opinion, Liverpool haven't spoken to Mo Salah at all. He's 6 months away from leaving on a free transfer. Martin Keown believes that man at Liverpool haven't contacted Mo Salah in any way, shape, or form with any interest in us speaking about a deal. Everybody else seems to think that, and including the guy that was on. So it's is it somebody Crooks that does the?
Garth Crooks.
No, that might not be Crooks. The guy who does a lot of reporting for TalkSport. Anyway, he came on and said that Liverpool have basically had the feelers out to Mo Salah, asked him what he wanted to sign, how long he wanted, what wages he wanted, and potentially turned around to him and said, "Well, we can't do that length of contract, so this is where we're at." And that's where he says it's at. And Martin Keown says that's all bullshit. Basically, Liverpool have just not spoken to Mo Salah. I can't believe that Liverpool haven't spoken to Mo Salah in any way, shape, or form. They don't seem like the sort of club that's run that badly.
Well, if they haven't, they've got issues, because why would you not have?
Exactly.
I mean,
So
if you're getting this close to the end of his contract and you've ignored it, you've got bigger issues.
So to me, Liverpool, like they say, will have reached out and said, "Look, we are happy to give you a year or 2 years, a year plus a year if you do all right, at X amount per week. Where does that leave you?" And yeah, Mo Salah may have come back and said, "Well, that's not good enough. I want 3 years and I want 300 grand a week." They're at an impasse, aren't they? Doesn't
Yeah.
mean, Mo Salah said they've not offered me a contract. Well, no, they haven't offered you a contract because they've offered you terms and you've disagreed. You're not agreeing to the terms, so they haven't put a formal contract offer to you. Why would they? But it's a total different story to saying, well, they've not spoken to him or they're not interested in trying. Martin Keown's basically making Liverpool out, and I don't know if I need to defend Liverpool by any stretch, that they're not interested in keeping him. And I'm like, that cannot be true, can it? That cannot be the case.
Unless they know what his demands are already, because from the previous contract that they did, and they're just thinking, well, there's no point.
You surely got to think. I mean, that's got to be years ago, hasn't it? 3 years ago. You surely got to think that Liverpool have reached out to a representative and said, "This is what we're willing to pay him." There's common sense from Liverpool if you have, because he is over 30, so he's not going to last forever, is he? I mean, he
No.
doesn't look like the sort of guy that's going to go on and play till he's 40. So they've gone in with what they believe to be the right terms. But just sitting there, Martin Keown, basically slagging off the guy who's spoken to Liverpool. So this, I can't remember what his name is. He said he'd been in contact with Liverpool and this was what they told him. Now, I know clubs lie, so I'm not going to claim it as to be gospel, and he's like, "No, it's not true. They've not spoken to Mo Salah." I was like, how is that even possible? This is not, we're not talking about Chorley United here. We're talking about Liverpool. You don't think that they've thought, "Oh shit, it's not Championship Manager," when it flags up on your screen after 6 months and says, "Oh, your contract's for night." You think, "Oh, balls." I think Liverpool are on top of this. I mean, it's been impressed for how long that Trent, Virgil, Van Dijk, and Mo Salah are all out of contract. They've definitely spoke to all of them and offered them, asked them what they want, and put something to them. This is where we're at. And if they come to an impasse, they'll come to an impasse. That's fair enough. They don't have to sign Mo Salah back. He's not going to be the best player in the Premier League forever, is he? So it seems very strange how he's so adamant that they've definitely not spoken to Mo Salah just because of what Mo Salah said when he got off a bus. So they've not offered me a contract.
It is strange that they've let it get this late. I can't lie. That they've not sorted something out or tried to sell him in the summer if they knew there was a chance that they couldn't match his demands. Because really, once you get to a year, you want to start having this conversation, don't you?
Yeah, which is what I believe. If I'm involved in it, I would have spoke to him last summer and come to some sort of broad agreement or some sort of not agreement based, shall we say. This is what I can pay, this is what you want. And they've said, right, well, we've got to this point, there's nothing we can do. They may try and sell him in January to Saudi Arabia, you don't know, do you?
But nobody's going to buy him right now because there's 6 months left on the contract. You can get him for
the
free.
Saudis will, because they just money don't mean anything to them. Do it. If they can get him today and think they can get that signing, they'll pay 20-30 million for him, won't they, and get rid of him.
Possibly, yeah, true.
But maybe Liverpool don't see him as the future. Is there any problem in that? Just because he's good today,
it's not the future. Mo Salah isn't the
3
future
years
of that
from
club.
now.
He's the present of that club.
So why can't Liverpool have put something to him that says, right, well, we'll give you 180 grand a week, and we'll give you a 1 year deal with the option of a second if you're fit and you're playing. That's all we'll give you. That to me is great. That's great for Liverpool.
That probably will be what Liverpool have done because they've always had a structure. They're always very rigid on sticking to that structure, and it's why they're in a good financial position.
Man United, and why is Man United doing so much shit? Because we keep signing these stupid players on stupid contracts. If that's what Liverpool have done, they've done the right thing. Just because Mo Salah says they've not offered me a contract, well, no, they haven't offered you a contract because you're not agreeing to the terms that they're putting forward. They'll only formally offer you a contract once there's a broad agreement in place. Yeah. You've turned around and probably said, I want twice as much because you think you're the world's best player, which right now you might be one of. But you're over 30. They're not going to sign you on a long-term deal and get stuck with you paying you stupid wages. When
they did it with Mane as well.
Future. So it just seems very odd to me that Martin Keown's got such a strong opinion on it, and he seems to know nothing, considering he used to be a footballer.
Martin Keown's never known anything.
I mean, it was hilarious because Simon Jordan and this guy that I can't remember his name were just gobsmacked by what he was saying, and I was sat there the same. I was like, "What's this? Because basically, he took gospel what Mo Salah said when he got off that bus. They're not offering me a contract, and that was it. Mo Salah can't be lying.
Martin Keown's also
never lied, has he?
And Martin Keown's also got to accept the fact that there'll be a language barrier in there. I mean, the guy's Egyptian at the end of the day. English is his second language. So,
I think
not
English is Martin Keown's second language from listening to him.
So...
Yeah, it was very...
But yeah,
very odd.
Today, what we got, 3.5 hours kickoff. Like you said, I think it's bigger for Today's bigger for Man City than it is for Liverpool, definitely. I think if Liverpool win it, City's season's looking grim.
Liverpool beat this. It's the compound effect, isn't it, of now being 7 games without a win, 6 defeats in 7. People keep talking about it. It gets into everybody's head. Pep's going to have more scratches on his head than ever before. It's just all going to go wrong, isn't it? It just keeps snowballing.
Did you not find the contract announcement for Pep came at a really strange time? So he just, at that point, I think he'd lost 5 in a row, hadn't won in 5, whichever one it was. And all of a sudden, we've offered him a 2-year contract. You're like, his worst form ever.
Didn't they do it to was it Solskjaer United that they did it to when he just started to have a bad turn? One of the or was it Ten Hag? They did Ten Hag.
Ten Hag's always kept getting new contract when he's been crap.
It's almost like getting it out of the way was clarity to him a little bit. Because there was quite a lot of is he staying, is he going? So I kind of understand in a way that you clear it up. All the players are now on the same page. Everyone seems happy. Pep's staying. But, I mean, there's still all this 115 charges. God knows what the 115 charges are hanging over them. They could technically, and it won't happen because they've got too much money, they could still be playing Championship football next season. For all everyone knows. Mm-hmm. They could be relegated to the League Two. It happened to Juventus, didn't it, in Italy? They got relegated to
happened to Rangers.
So then what happens?
There was a rumour that said that Pep signed this because he knows it's not going to happen. I know
it's not going to happen because they've got too much money, and the people at the FA and FIFA and wherever you want to go are too gullible to just take whatever they're offered. Somebody offered them 100 million, they'll say no. And
also, as the Premier League proved with their own lawyers against Leicester City, they're not that bright.
Not very clever, yeah. When their own lawyer actually admits that they've found a loophole in their own rules. I mean, I've said this before, and if you make the rules, that's it. There should be no loopholes. There should be no claims. You don't claim. If you're going to take us to court, just kick you out of league. Start their league. I mean, we've got a right to all this cobbled. I mean, Leicester were up line and sinker. Broke the rules and managed to find a loophole to get them out of it. I mean, what sort of organisation is this? Same organisation that knighted Gareth Southgate, so I'll answer my own question.
But that's a really, really nice segue into running of sports and rules. So Formula One a few months ago said, don't need an 11th team. Andretti won't bring anything. We're worth more than they are. We get to the last week of November, and here's General Motors and Cadillac.
And are they not using his setup as well?
He's Andretti's team without his name.
Yeah, I was going to say they're working because he said, "Oh, he's got 200 people working for him." I'm like, "Well, General Motors haven't because they've just literally come on board." So they're using Andretti's factories in England and
It's
America.
still under the Andretti global name, but they've just dropped his name from the actual application. So it's just now going to be General Motors and Cadillac. But it's the same team that was, it's the same factory, it's the same. Andretti Global is the part of the parent group. But yeah, they just decided that they didn't like Andretti, so he wasn't coming in, but they like General Motors and Cadillac, so they can. Because it's their rules.
So if Andretti came in, who was he coming in as? Andretti Racing? Was that going to be the team?
Yes. They didn't actually have a formal name. It was just running under Andretti Global, but it was going to be Andretti Racing or
I would say
Andretti
we're very
F1.
catchy, but General Motors is hardly very catchy, is it? I mean, I thought General Motors went out of fashion 40 years ago.
It'll probably race under Cadillac, I think, which doesn't sound very good in F1.
Cadillac. It sounds like a awesome kart race, doesn't it? Cadillac.
I mean, Cadillac to me, I just think of a big, comfy, slow machine.
Like a 6.5 litre engine in front, and it does like 0 to 60 in 95 seconds. Yeah. And when it sees a corner, it just falls over. I mean, it probably will do. A bit like that Kick Sauber thing. That's pretty similar, isn't it? That does 0 to 60 never and falls over a lot.
But yeah, they're now going to make it into Formula One as of 2026. So not only have they decided it's going to be, they're allowing it in the next 12 months.
Well, that's why it's got to be something to Andretti, isn't it? Because General Motors aren't going to build a car in the next 12 months.
Oh, no, they're just using all his facilities, all his structure that he's already started building. The people that Andretti had already employed will now work for General Motors.
I mean, I find it fascinating that he employs 200 people to run an F1 team that it doesn't actually have.
It was brilliant on his part, though. He basically just kept going.
How confident are you?
He just ignored them. Like, I'm building an F1 car.
I mean, how much money has this geezer got to employ 200 people to build an F1 car for a sport you're not even involved in?
He's got a lot of financial backing from other companies and other partners. So,
I mean, did you not say that's pay 200 million just a bid?
Have you seen how much they've now got to pay to get in? Because the Concord Agreement, which is the rules around Formula One, ends before they join.
They're aware what happened to Concord, aren't they?
General Motors will pay $450 million just to enter the sport.
What?
That's not to build the car. That's just to be allowed to partake.
Well, Formula One cars aren't cheap to build, are they?
Well, they're capped at $150 million now per year with the budget cap.
Is that to build the car, though? Is that to maintain the car once built?
Same difference. Because you build a new car every year, so you get $150, $160 million a year to build and run and upgrade your car. But they've got to pay 3 times that just to be allowed on the grid.
Well, we know they're not cheap to run because we've seen Williams. I mean, they've been rebuilding them weekly, haven't they?
Williams is not fair because theirs is not cheap to run because they crash it every week.
It's the only weekend I've not seen one in the bits so far.
There's still 70 odd laps to do later that might change that.
So when do these guys start? 2026. So Audi start the same year, do they?
Oh, nicely done. Audi, yes. Audi have sold 30% of their stake already.
Well, that was started, yeah.
Well, I didn't know this until doing a bit of research. Volkswagen Group is in dire straits. As in...
But, it's strange you said that because somebody, I don't know what, I think it was on LinkedIn or so, they sold off a load of, liquidized all of their factories in Germany. Like Volkswagen. Or like the biggest car manufacturer in the world, I think, currently.
The thing I read said they've got 2 years to save the whole company. It's going under fast, and then they're going to spend all this money to join Formula One. So they've sold 30% of it to the Qataris instead.
I don't understand how Volkswagen are struggling. I mean, they build good cars. I mean, they don't sell them cheap.
One of their biggest customers was China. They sold a lot to the Chinese market, and they've stopped buying them, and they've plumped a lot into the electric car sales, and they're plummeting off a cliff because nobody wants to drive around in a hairdryer.
Well, it serves them right for building electric cars, don't they? Because they're all shite. Absolute
Yep.
shite. They don't get nowhere. They all break down. They all catch fire. And when you need to use them, they don't work. You've seen them all in America, all parked on the freeway because they don't work in sub-minus temperatures.
Well, yeah, because basically
Can't
the
start
battery
them.
dies as soon as it gets slightly. I mean, it'd be fine for you
Well,
in
they get.
Australia.
Yeah. Oh no, there'd be a nightmare over here, mate. Because we're catching fire because batteries don't work above 30 degrees. So batteries will be on fire. There's fucking loads. There's none of them over here. No, there's some Teslas, I must admit, and then there's a lot of them BYD, them Chinese ones.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of. I mean, still drive around in V8s over here, so they're not worried about emissions, are they? Fucking hell, everyone's got a V8. It's.
But yeah, Audi.
I just can't imagine. I mean, they've obviously made some really bad decisions, haven't they, to put a lot of money into electric cars.
Yes. So yeah, Audi sold 30% of it to the
See, Audi
Qataris,
did,
which
didn't they? I'm trying to think of VW. I mean, VW aren't massive in electric cars as far as their range, I can think. But Audi aren't they? Audi are all in
yeah.
electric cars. Got fucking thousands of them.
But yeah, so that basically is to try and shore up the F1 bid. Because obviously, it looked really bad if you're shutting a load of factories in Germany. But going, we're about to enter F1 and pay hundreds of millions of pounds a year to run a car that might not be very good.
And it's almost strange, isn't it? Because VW are the group that's going under, yet they're entering under Audi.
Yeah. Well, they nearly entered
Not
under
even
Porsche.
entering. Not even entering under. Oh, they own Porsche, aren't they? They own Lamborghini then. They do.
They own nearly
They
everything.
possibly struggle, can't they? That's ridiculous, isn't it?
But yeah, so luckily the Qataris have saved
See,
the F1 team for now.
Porsche built a lot of electric cars, and supposedly they're absolutely shite. And nobody wants them when you've bought them. You paid £200,000 for them, you can't get rid of them. Even Porsche won't buy them back off you. So
So
yeah.
yes, that was the kind of the F1 news for this week. We have a new team, and one team sold up before starting. So
See, stuff like that. I mean, it's almost makes a bit of a farce of it, doesn't it? I mean, go the FIA, you've got to be turning around and saying this is looking a bit suspect. This, do we really want these in the sport? Is that really a good idea?
but eventually they'll probably just sell it all to the Qataris if they have to, because they've got money for days, so it doesn't matter. Pocket change. I mean, they've bought 30% of it. What's that going to cost them? 300 million if we say that, something are in that region. Most F1 teams are worth £1 billion these days. So if the Qataris have just pumped in 300 million
The
quid,
Qataris
so what?
basically are going to buy a Formula One team, so the Qataris will be in Formula One. I mean,
Probably.
else,
Well, to be fair, the Middle Eastern conglomerate, if you want to call it that, they've been in Formula One for a while. The Bahraini International Wealth Fund owns most of McLaren. I think one of the Saudi investment funds might be involved somewhere as well. So the influence is already there, and they want to be involved, and they've got them. I mean, it's literally like me spending 10 quid in Aldi. They've just put 300 million quid into Audi, and they don't care.
Yeah, I think Ben Foster saying the other day that one of the Saudis or the Bahrainians had said he can't physically spend all his money. There isn't enough things in the world for him to buy for him to spend all his money. I was like, wish that was the same case for me. Every time I walk out of the house, like, fucking hell, run out of money again. Yeah, can't spend it. It's impossible for him to spend all his money. Like,
Yeah, so they're just going to buy sports teams as playthings. Something to do with the time.
I mean, that technically won't be true, but almost is true because they wouldn't allow you to buy enough sports teams because you'd be a
conflict of interest.
Conflict of interest, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So technically, he's probably right in what he says that he can't spend all his money. So I mean, that's a scary world, and they've got people like that around in it.
Must be a nice world for him.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was bought Man United. Over there. I've fucking no idea. It's this team that don't win a lot. So I bought them.
Why? Sounds like a good thing to do.
So we got to the last sprint race, have we? Sorry, he was.
Yeah, so as we went into this weekend then, did you see the comments made by Lewis Hamilton Friday night?
I'm going to say no.
So he basically said, I'm just now slow. That's the way it is. I don't have any speed anymore.
So Ferrari are fucking happy. Fucking hell. Well, they're paying £100 million a year.
Yeah. And he just stood there and said, I'm slow. And I
can't
can't
lightning in Vegas. I mean, he was the fastest thing on the track by a long way.
But does this go back to the same discussion we were having last week? Is this all just emotion right now and anger and boredom of being in a court of a Mercedes?
Why do you say stupid things like that? I mean, it almost beggars belief that he's come out and said that. Yeah. I don't know. Can you imagine Ayrton Senna coming out and saying, I'm now crap? He
No.
wouldn't do it, would he? He'd go for down fighting. It's like Alonso. Alonso's probably not that good anymore, but he's not going to come out and tell him he's rubbish. He's going to fight till the end, isn't he?
Yeah. If you look
He
at it in
finished in
footballing
Brazil
terms,
with a broken back, nearly.
Ibrahimovic told everybody he was a footballing god till the day he stopped playing, whether it was true
And
or
he
not.
wasn't. I mean, most of the time he couldn't get around pitch, but he still did a job, and he was still getting paid to do a job. How can you say that before you go to Ferrari on £100 million a year? Has he got a 1 or 2 year deal? 2 year deal.
2 years, as far as I'm aware.
It is 2 years, isn't it? I mean, I bet Ed of Ferrari's fucking happy. I mean,
I've just signed this guy that's admitting he's past
talk about
it.
Chelsea trying to get out of buying Sancho. I bet Ferrari trying to get out of buying Hamilton now. They'll be fucking trying to fire that contract somewhere, won't they?
But yeah, it was a really odd thing to say. Like, I mean, surely if you looked at that interview, he probably should have said, "Can't wait to get into Ferrari. I need a fresh start. Things have gone stale here. I'm not at my best," which we can all see. But yeah, he just went, "Don't know what it is. I'm just slow now."
It's such strange timing after Las Vegas when he was so fast.
But then
So fast.
he's a long way behind George again this weekend, isn't he? I mean, George was third in the sprint race. He's pole for today. He was second sprint quality, whereas Lewis is sort of seventh, eighth all time at the minute.
Yeah, it almost feels like Merck have kind of got their heads together on the car a little bit, and Lewis is just not part of it, isn't it?
Well, he's not going to be, is he? I mean, let's be honest. He surely must have seen this coming in January, that as we got closer to the end of this season, he wasn't going to be involved in developments. They were going to move the car more towards George. He wasn't going to be in the briefings and the meetings and the strategy plans.
Which is going to have an effect, isn't it? Because
yeah, absolutely.
they're holding so much information back from him. And if you think they're developing things on the car, even little tweaks that they're bringing in ready for next season, they're probably not putting them on his car. They're probably not giving him the information because he's just going to take it to Ferrari, isn't he?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, I know they'll sign a non-disclosure agreement, but I mean, fucking hell, it gets that everywhere, doesn't it? I mean, are they going to pin that on Lewis Hamilton? I mean, if they can tell you that Red Bull are moving their floor about, I mean,
and he can't forget what he knows. If he knows it, he can't. When he walks into Ferrari and goes, "Move that part,"
I know
it's better.
Yesterday in the sprint race, they were flying at the start.
Yeah.
I mean, it became a bit of a procession, didn't it, because of the DRS train? But I mean,
it was very, very dull.
You needed pit stops in that race, didn't you, to split the cars up and make them pit at different times? I mean, I know Perez pits. Did Perez pit to change his wing just to help Max Verstappen out, by the way? Because how did they go from having a car that can't get around a track to now being, well, and why did Max get pole took off him by one place?
Right, okay. You've asked about 4 questions there. I'll try and answer in some sort of order.
My head just went totally, I had too much sun, I think. I got too many things in me. I had a lot to come out once. So
Perez turned the sprint into a practice session.
Are they allowed to pit?
Yeah, you're just not. There's no mandatory. It's not mandated that you have to, but you can if you want to. So he forgot to start in the pit lane because he wasn't paying attention or was looking at the desert or something.
Is this guy a total moron? There's a massive. I mean, it's dark for a start. There's a massive green light, which when I'm watching on the TV blinded me, right? Because it was that fucking bright, and this fucking idiot didn't even start.
But so let's deal with that as the first one. So he then came out with a story at the end of the race that said, "Did it intentionally? I wanted to be at the back on my own so we could use it as a test session."
Fuck off! He's never said that.
2 problems
Is that what
with
he said?
Yep, there was 2 problems with that though. One, his boss told a different story, and 2, he ran with the pack for half of the race.
Why didn't he pit and
on lap 1?
He's never. I'll start with it to start with and just get the penalty. We're at the fucking back. You're not going to make any difference, is it? They give him a 50-grid penalty, but I mean, he couldn't be any further away. Though people in crowd started further forward than him.
Yeah, so apparently it was all intentional on his behalf. He meant to miss the start.
What? I mean, that's not even plausible, is it?
No, it's not even close.
At all. Oh, the man's lost the plot, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Did he say it in Mexican? Have they mistranslated it?
No, but he said it in English to Sky Sports.
Did he swear?
No, but Norris did.
Oh, did he? Good lad. Go on, Lando.
He struggled to say privilege twice and then went, "Oh, shit." So George Russell went, "That's a fine."
Did he? Yes. Yes, that's the way it should be. You need to put £10 in swear jar. You've sworn all. How much do they
I've
get
run out.
fined?
My jar isn't big enough. How many times you've sworn? But then moving on to qualifying, yes, Max has lost his pole position with an unprecedented one-place
That's
penalty,
what I'm saying.
which
I've
isn't a
never.
thing.
Is it for the block on Russell?
No, there's a bit
Oh,
of misunderstanding here that everybody's saying he blocked Russell. He's been given a one-place grid penalty for driving too slowly on the outlap and not meeting the race director's instructions of the set lap time that he has to do, which
the
everybody gets done
penalty is
for
a
every
one
week.
grid. Never been a one grid though, has it?
No, it's usually 3 or 5.
So I won.
Don't know.
Who's the new
Oh.
director? Because the other guy's left, haven't
Everybody's left. There's nobody left in FIA. It looks like Alpine's pit garage. There's nobody there. Everybody's been fired or resigned. So I
So
don't
who's in
really know
charge
who's
then?
making these decisions.
Oh, is it that? Is it the safety car driver?
But
Although
my lad,
he's had a bit of a crash this year, so maybe he's not fit for purpose.
but yeah, so basically he's got a one-place grid penalty for driving too slowly on an outlap, which
The
affected
thing for me
nobody.
is, right, with things like this, and maybe it's just me being stupid. You know, when you've got a rule, you have a set penalty. You write it down,
Yeah.
don't you? So if you go too slow on your outlap, the penalty is X. It's quite simple. Everyone gets the same penalty. So the penalty is 1 grid or 3 grids or 5 grids. There's no variation of that. It's broken that rule, and that's the penalty. Keeps everything quite simple, and everyone gets the same penalty. If you're speeding the pit lane, give them the same penalty, whatever it is, every time. How can it change for the
Because,
same rule being broken?
I mean, the rule about the how fast you must drive on an outlap isn't new. It's just never been enforced because usually there's a mitigating factor of letting somebody else through, slowing down to make a gap for the car in front, yada yada yada. So I don't get why we bothered yesterday. It didn't affect Russell.
Why don't the FIA just do away with the mitigating circumstance and say, there's no reason, hard fact reason, you can't go from A to B in the set time. Slowing down for a make gap, irrelevant. So go out on the track at a different time.
Well, technically,
There's
there is, because if 4 cars come behind you on a hot lap, you have to move out of the way and slow down. So that could prevent you from doing it physically.
But surely you've got to build that into your lap, knowing that they all know where the other cars are when you go out. You know when you exit that pit lane that there's other cars on the track. Everyone knows where everyone else is. They're always telling them, you've got a car coming up behind you, it's 15 seconds behind you, you've got a car coming up, it's 10 seconds. They know this when he leaves the track. You've got to build that into your lap. Get round there faster to give yourself more time.
Oh, yeah,
Just
I mean,
cut
there
and
is
dry
that to
it.
it, absolutely. But I just find the whole penalty is just ridiculous. It's
Well, it's
unnecessary.
ridiculous, but if you're going to put it in there, stop putting in mitigating. That's like we said again. You're making rules and then making problems for yourself by giving everyone a pass at certain times. Just say you've got 2.5 minutes to get round. If you don't get around in 2.5 minutes, I don't give a shit what your excuses are. Tough. It's just part of racing. Other people going around the track is part of racing. You get a penalty. Done.
No, yeah,
Everyone move on. We just make all these rules and then so many variations to the rule that we just make more problems for ourselves on every sport we watch. It's like just make the rule a set rule. Done. I mean, does Perez not get a penalty for not leaving pit lane? Surely that's can't be.
It was
right,
quite
is it?
dangerous because, I mean, Colapinto could have rear-ended him.
I mean, isn't it
blocking the pit lane.
Williams? I mean, they'd like to write them off. There could have been a massive crash. I mean, that's the first time Williams have avoided a crash that they could have had in a long time. But the fact they had to swerve, I mean, what if there was somebody in the way?
But yeah, so it's all just been a little bit of a farce. I mean, the end of the sprints got quite a lot of flack, but I didn't see an issue with it. Norris moved out the way, Piastri won, so what?
I don't see why people can get involved. They keep saying it's a team sport. They're saying that the most important title is the team title. McLaren have done what they need to do. I mean, I didn't understand what the fuck was happening. I thought Norris had broke down 2 yards from the line. I was like, what the fuck? And then it said they'd handed it back for Brazil, did it?
Yeah.
Was it something to do with Brazil?
Yeah, so Oscar should have won the sprint in Brazil. He let Lando through because the driver's title was still
trying to
technically
get
on
some
then.
points, right?
So Lando's returned the
Get
favour.
it.
It wasn't a team thing. The team told him not to do it. Lando just decided to. But the people going, oh, it's pathetic, it's ridiculous. It's a team sport, and within the
People don't
team,
seem to understand.
they were quite happy to do it. Yes, it was risky, but it didn't. It worked. So what?
It was risky to a certain point. What was the worst outcome? That he lost second to George? I mean, what he lost 2 points? They were
Well,
ahead of well, they were ahead of Ferrari, both cars. They weren't going to lose it to a Ferrari, and they weren't going to lose it to a Red Bull. So technically, was it really even a risk?
no.
If Ferrari had overtaken him on the line, you thought it was pretty stupid because they're trying to catch you for the constructors, but you're still going to get more points than the other teams. I'm talking about 1 point in the sprint race. I mean, they could both crash out this afternoon in the race and totally negate what they did yesterday anyway. So
Yeah, it was all just a mountain out of a molehill. I mean, people saying it was stupid, it was this, it was that, and team orders. It's a team sport. Team did what team wanted in team sport is basically the
they
headline.
clearly just said it weren't a team order; it was Lando's decision.
Well,
I
not
mean,
even if it was. If it was a
can't
team
take
order,
away a driver's ability to think. I mean, you should take away the ability to think, but you can't. Sports people shouldn't be allowed opinion.
although Ben
But they do
Sullivan
have
does like to take away their rights to do things, so thinking might be on his list.
Yeah, take it off. It's just fine them for it. Don't take it off them. It's just a fine. Remember the turtles. Yeah, it's I don't know. It's sprint races anyway. It was a good start to the race, and then it just became
Dull.
a lot of cars following each other around. But yeah, I thought
Very.
Georgia a bit soft. He seemed to half-heartedly try and overtake Piastri a few times. Kind of just think all or nothing it a little bit. But I think George's driving really well at the moment. To be fair to him, I think he's got a bit of mojo. He just don't seem to have that. What's that? That killer instinct. It just seemed
That
a bit.
yesterday to me was a situation where he knew Oscar would have backed out more because of the constructors. He should have been he should have been a bit more max
Aggressive.
actually. Move or
Yeah,
crash. Because
yeah,
Oscar would
he
have
should
moved.
have. But we said this before about him, haven't we? I mean,
Yeah.
twice he's on the inside of him, and he breaks before. I mean, they weren't going to
Oscar.
crash. The commentators are making a massive. It was if George had just stayed where he were, there was plenty of room for Oscar to stay left. It's not like there was a wall to the left of him. Did he just stayed out of his way? And George had gone for it. He just seemed to sort of stick it down the inside and think, I'll have a look. Oh, well, he just closed the door on me. And it was landing on radio and moan about it. And I'm like, let's put radio down and let's go and overtake him. And it just seemed a bit half-hearted. But he is driving well, to be fair to him. He's
driving
don't
very,
seem to
very
have.
well.
He's
But
just
he needs
English, and he
needs
can't help it, can he?
he needs that killer instinct, like we keep saying that a lot of them need.
Mm.
There's got to be
I mean,
that.
there was nothing on the race, was there? It was an irrelevant overtake either way. But you kind of, it's the way you are, I think, isn't it? It doesn't matter whether it's a friendly or whether it's a hybrid friendly or whether it's a real race. Just go and win.
Yeah.
Winning's just a mentality, isn't it? It's a way of being. Just go and win. Just go and pass Piastri. Even going into next season, be on his mind. If George sticks it to him a few times, you think, oh, I know. Everyone thinks the same of Max, don't they? You treat him like the iron legs of a donkey because you know that he's going to go aggressive. And if George does that to him there, next season, or next similar situation, Piastri will think, well, I remember what happened here. I'll give him a bit of room because he's going to go for it. Whereas now he'll think, well, bottle it, so I'll just cut him off.
Yeah.
And he will do. He's got him sort of figured out, hasn't it? So yeah, it seemed a bit soft, but he's English. What can he do, poor lad?
The other thing, obviously, that we don't like about sprints is that to me, I mean, I know the grid's slightly different than it was yesterday, but if we're just going to sit in a DRS train for 2 hours, then wow, that's going to be not fun.
I know it's a sprint, so the idea is it's a sprint to the end, but you almost feel like a pit stop in a sprint race would make it even better. Because you've got so little time to sort of gain back that time. It's going to make them so integral to the race, isn't it?
Yeah, but then that negates why
up.
they've done it. Because bearing in mind, this is under the green scheme of using less tyres and saving on.
Green scheme. How is this a green sport? How is this possible even remotely? I mean, they put tyres on for 4 laps. Did Alonso pit after 5 laps in Vegas?
Well, Zhao did about 3 in sprint, I think, before he soft tyres.
How are they even? The fact that they've got a cheek to put an advert out saying we'll be net zero by 2030. I'm just like, how? What world are you going to be in where you're going to fly around the world? Where you're going to go from the USA Grand Prix to Mexico to Brazil to Las Vegas, which is in the same fucking country we left 3 weeks ago, and you're going to call it green sport?
and then we're
I
going to go
reckon
over to Qatar.
Yeah, I mean, how is this? We were over this part of the world 9 months ago when season started. Why didn't we race these races then? That'd make it a bit more believable for a start. 20 minutes of green sport. I mean, why don't they just do away with that and just make the racing worthwhile?
Yeah, because I mean, yesterday was dull, and I just hope today's not as dull. What have we got? Sort of 4 hours till race until lights out. I think.
Yeah, it needed somebody to pit to break the DRS train up to put people in clean air to possibly throw some difference into the mix. Whereas everyone, I mean, Lando just gave DRS to Piastri, and that was pretty much it, wasn't it? I mean,
I
no
mean, yeah,
having no.
McLaren did everything they needed to do, but it just made it very, very
Which
dull.
is fine. That's how racing is. Like I said, it's about finishing first. It's not about pleasing people or watching it.
Oh, exactly.
But the rules kind of don't make it sort of great viewing, does it?
No, but I just want sprints to go away anyway. So the more sprints that are dull, the happier I will be, because then eventually they might stop doing them.
Well, they're not going to because Jensen Button's on there going on about how good they are, how amazing it was yesterday, and so
They were
is whoever
terrible. It was
co-commentator. And I'm
boring
like,
as sin.
I mean, why don't you just go back to abusing Christian Horner because he's good at that?
Something
Oh,
we shall never
that's
stop doing.
no, because actually he came on the radio yesterday and went, Max, that's our first official poll since Austria.
No, it's not.
It's not. No, it's not. Mr.
That's a
Horner, you are
lie.
second. Unfortunately, you only got a one grid penalty because there's a new rule, but you are second. Well, so why did Max not get a penalty for blocking George? Can I just ask?
Because neither were on a quick lap, so it doesn't matter. You're not blocking anything. George was on an out lap. Max
George
was on
won
an
a
out
quick
lap.
lap.
No, he wasn't. He's on a preparation lap.
Oh,
So
seems
nobody
to be
did
going.
anything to anybody. They were just a bit slow. Literally, he's got a penalty for being a bit slow. That's it. It's pointless. It's pathetic.
All right. Yeah. I mean, why don't they just do away with the whole thing anyway? And I can't understand why it matters how slow you go on your out lap.
So you don't cause carnage on track. Because when there's people going round at top speed, it's a safety issue as well, because your closing speeds become vast. Obviously, if you're going 200 mile an hour to 70, it's to keep it as safe as possible, and also so you don't end up with a situation that we did in Monza 2020, I think, where
And
they
nobody
all
made the line.
everybody just missed it because they were doing 4 miles an hour.
Again, just overtake the car in front of you if it's such a problem to you.
Yeah, but they were
No,
all trying to get a toll, weren't they? Because it's Monza and you need
Well,
the
that's
toll.
it. That's just idiots being idiots, though, isn't it? It's like, at the end of the day, just get through the line. Not completing your laps worse than trying to complete it behind a toe. Just
Yeah.
it's just
Yes, they
tampering
brought it in to
people,
prevent things like that happening, but yeah, it's now just being used to the extreme of punishing Max for one place. I mean, it'd be quite funny actually though if George messes up the start and Max just ends up first again, just because they will have done all that for nothing.
Nothing. Why is the Red Bull suddenly quick? It was a bag of spanners in this. Because of
I think
Perez changing wing.
I'm guessing the changes that they did between the sprint and qualifying, that when Perez did his fake test session, have clearly had some sort of impact. I mean,
And how bad is it when you're racing the top team and you've been used as a tester
but
during
how
a race?
bad is it that it's allowed to be done is my thing. So because they're allowed to change the cars now between the sprint and the real Grand Prix this year, which wasn't a rule previously, it's stupid. It shouldn't be a thing.
Makes
Once
the
you get
race
to
just
being
test for the
competitive,
race.
once you start
Lock it
competitive
down.
running, that should be your car and leave it. Because all you've
Mm.
done now is allow Red Bull to put a guy out that's thick, last, running
I'm gonna
around
get
on
that
his
pit
own,
lane.
and can
Testing
change
parts
the
from the
car.
race.
And I just don't think it's right.
And it'd be interesting
Well,
to see how they gathered that it were a good change because they were absolutely shite in the race. So I mean, what
I mean,
data
I
did they
say
gather
it's
from it?
not right based on the fact that we're trying to say the sprint is a competitive thing that we want to take seriously and everybody should be involved in, but then you can just let teams turn it into a test session. It's
Yeah.
not competitive, is it?
So you took away test in practice 2 and 3 and made qualifying and a practice race basically.
Yeah, that's all you've done. That you can now change all your setup for, even though it's meant to be a competitive thing, and the sprint is good, and the sprint is fun, and the sprint isn't just people driving around in circles, following each other and making no overtakes like it was yesterday.
Oh, Zhao.
Yeah, or him, or Sauber in general.
Did he not even do the full allocation of laps?
I don't know what he did, but then he were quite good in qualifying, so they were quite good all of a sudden towards the end. But there we go.
So we've only got 7 days left of the season, haven't we?
We do indeed. This time next week, then it will all be over.
It'll nearly be over. And that'll be it.
It will.
We'll have
Until
a
mid-February.
very short podcast because of football and I want to slag off.
We'll just have to really find lots to talk about at football, but there we go.
Happy days, mate. Happy days.
think for
Anything
this
else
week-
happened that's need to
No.
bring up to the world?
I think for this week, we shall probably say that is a wrap and let everybody go and enjoy the rest of their weekend.
Oh, I've enjoyed mine. Mine's over.
Well, mine is, but you know.
Yes, mate. That's it. Call
Right,
it a
on that
day.
one, I'm going to call that the end of the episode and we'll speak to you all later on.
See you later.